Now we're going to get started in on the framing for the cooler. Basically built these brackets which will hold the foam in place for the cooler. This is going to kind of be a not so scientific eyeball method on how much room I need in here to get in, access, and still be able to flip a hatch up and down. Alright, well, time to start insulating the cooler that's in the center console. We're just going to use some more of that rigid foam that we used earlier. Same process as before. Just cut, snap, and we'll work on getting it all put into place. Okay, so since we've got those vertical supports inside of the cooler, or the framework for the console, I'm going to mortise this out so that it will actually encapsulate those 1-bys on the inside. That's simply done by scoring this edge, and then popping that square out, and then it should snug right into the aluminum framework for the console. Let me give you a better look. See? That's how it's going to sit inside of there. Okay, so basically what we end up with there then is a foam wall. It's been mortised in and around those 1-bys. And that'll create the insulation for the cooler. Now all we got to do is do the other 4 sides in the bottom, and then that'll just leave us with the hatch. All right, well, give you guys a deep down tour of it, of what it looks like on the inside. Nice tight fits in the corners. Nice sizable cooler. The only thing we got left to do is the hatch and the lid. And then the way I built it this way is I did these sides first, and those got tongued into the framework. The back ones lock those two in place. The front one will do the same thing, just locks those two sides in place. And then when you put the bottom in, it just locks the whole thing together. So this stuff shouldn't go anywhere, especially with the tight fit we've got on it. Also, by installing that bottom foam in last, one of the things that it does is it tightens up all the joints along where your angle iron is that's holding the transom in place, and just seals everything up. Ultimately, we're going to end up putting a skin on this thing, which I've already gone ahead and cut and bent, and then it'll basically fully encapsulate that thing. I'll get more into that skin here on another episode. All right, so my hinges finally showed up, so we can keep going on the cooler. Okay, so what we just did there is we marked the center line of the hinge, so that way when I put the foam in there, I know exactly where to cut it to where it articulates with the hinge. So we'll get this out of here, we'll get the foam in there, we'll get it marked, we'll get the foam cut, and then I'm going to glue the foam to the bottom of this lid and then pop the whole thing in, and then we'll go through and get it riveted into place. I'm going to be using a spray adhesive on this, and I don't want to get it out on those upper lips where it'll make things sticky. So I'm just going to tape those off. I'm gonna wipe this thing down with a little bit of denatured alcohol because a lot of this aluminum comes with an oil coating on it. And I want to give that adhesive the best chance of really grabbing on. I guess if you really, really, really wanted to, you could go through and scuff it up with a Scotch-Brite pad and it'd just give that adhesive a little something more to get onto. But since I may need to replace this foam in this cooler at some point in time, I do want it to be somewhat removable, so we're just gonna do that. You want to let that adhesive set for a little bit and glaze over, because if you put it on there while it's still wet, you don't get real good adhesion with it. Yeah, I know, I should have taken the tape off first. You'll have that even on these big projects. I should have taken that tape off before I glued those two together, because it's going to be all kinds of fun. That's all right, razor knife. Okay, so this is the front edge that's going to be folding up and out. So we're going to want to put a little bit of a taper on that to give it room to pass that forward edge. So we're just going to do that with the handy dandy knife and make it as pretty as we can, just freehand. See how we ended up with that taper? That'll allow it to slide up and out. All right, let's do it. All right, so let's take a look now that we've got it all installed and see what we've done. So basically, you saw I went through and riveted the backs in. That allows that back section to sit. We've got the hinge points, come on forward. Ultimately, I'm gonna put a little pull patch right here just to make getting it up easier. And then you can see that that taper really does a good job. And what? There's already stuff in there. Honestly, I think we just built a magic cooler. Self-filling magic cooler. Proof is in the cooler. Anyways, you can see there's plenty of room in there for beverages, frozen water jug, things along those lines. Sammy's, all that happy stuff. Granted, I did get in a hurry, and womp womp, that tape is still there. That's gonna bug the ever-loving piss out of me. I don't know, maybe I'll sit down with a dental tool and a pair of tweezers just to fix my anal retentiveness. But needless to say, cooler is pretty much done. That's how you do it, that's how you build it. Now I don't have a cooler bouncing around in the middle of this tiny ass boat. It's already built into the console. We're gonna work on getting the skin on the outside of this console installed. I've already cut it all. I have access to a metal brake, so I went through and I did the metal brakes, and we will talk about all that when we talk about skinning the console. All right, so here we are. Final phase of the cooler. We're gonna get the pull hatch put in it, and the cooler will be done. It is very rewarding to be able to finish little sections of these. It's a cool project just from the simple standpoint of you can work on it when you can work on it, but there's like no huge rush just because it's going to be in the water when it gets in the water. So with all ado, let's get to getting the pull hatch put in here and the cooler will be done. So one of the things that I noticed is it wasn't wanting to drill well, and what's happened is the aluminum's galled up the teeth on the blades, so we're going to clean those off real quick. So there you got to see the pull handle get put into the top of the cooler. Cooler is wrapped up. Next episode we're going to be starting into skinning the outside of this console, putting the aluminum on the top for the steering wheel and all the controls and the grab handle and the fuse panel and the switch panel. So that'll be the next one. Hopefully you check it out.